what's up, and welcome back to my channel. I am the Mass Trans, and you are watching me, baby. Now, before we get today's video started, I just want to give a quick what's up to my peeps and a diabolical middle finger to the creeps. You know who you are. Alright, so happy Monday. I'm feeling a lot better than I have been over the last couple of videos, so we are having a return to normalcy. And I wanted to come and talk to you guys really quick about this video and make sure this doesn't play because we're not ready to watch it. But the video that I want to watch this morning is Gabrielle Union and Dwyane Wade's acceptance speech at the 2023 NAACP Awards. Obviously, we all know that their daughter Zaya has been transitioning for quite some time publicly. She recently was granted approval for her name change, and I believe her transition as well. I'm not quite sure what that means or what that entails, but that's what the news media outlets are reporting. And so they accepted this award, and let's hear what they have to say. Let me tell you guys why I got distracted for just a second there. I was about to go read the comments. Okay, you know what? Let's hear what they have to say, and then we'll decide if we want to read the comments. So anyway, this is Gabrielle Union, Dwyane Wade, parents of Zaya Wade, well, stepmother and parent. We all know Siobhan Wade is Zaya's biological mom, who is not here for the transition, has no time for it, not interested. And so yeah, so let's hear what they have to say, and we'll talk.
For that ovation, we don't stand up here alone. As we know, it takes a village, it takes a community. We stand up here today as two people who have worked tirelessly to have resources and access. As two people willing to use our microphones for what we believe and what other families are going through. I'm intentional when I use my platform. I recognize what I've been given, and it is my job to uplift the voices of others and share my access and resources. I want to take this moment to publicly speak to our daughter Zaya. Zaya, as your father, all I've wanted to do was get it right. I've sat back and watched how gracefully you've taken on the public scrutiny. And even though it's not easy, I watched you walk out of that house every morning as yourself. I admire how you've handled the ignorance in our world. I admire it that you face every day. To say that your village is proud of you is an understatement. Thank you for showing me that there's more than just one way to communicate effectively. You taught me that communication with my mouth isn't enough. I have to also communicate with my two ears and my two eyes. As your father, my job isn't to create a version of myself or direct your future. My role is to be a facilitator to your hopes, your wishes, your dreams. Zaya, you've made me a better human just simply by being who you were born to be, our baby girl, Zaya Wade. So baby, thank you for showing the world what courage looks like. I'm proud that I was chosen to stand in place as your father. And thank you so much to the NAACP. It's an incredible honor.
Thank you, Derek and the NAACP. It's humbling to stand here surrounded by friends and heroes, OGs and icons, all working to advance the lives of Black people and pay respect to an organization that has led us through over a century of relentless challenge, pain, triumph, and change. And now stands with us again at the foot of a very new era of activism. A new era that demands our collective answer to one simple question. Will we fight for some, or will we fight for all of our people? Let's just name a couple hard truths. First, the intersection of Black rights and the rights of the LGBTQIA, trans, and gender nonconforming people continues to be rough. That's a huge understatement. Even as we demand equality at the top of our lungs, we consistently fail to extend our advocacy to protect some of our most vulnerable among us. And second, Black trans people are being targeted, terrorized, and hunted in this country. Every day, everywhere. And there's rarely a whisper about it. We honestly don't approach this work as activists or leaders as much as we do this as parents. Parents who love our children and will do whatever the hell we can to keep them seen and secure and safe. This is a conversation worth having in ways that can actually build bridges, right? That don't fan the flames of hatred or division. That don't enable lawmakers or justice systems to look the other way when Black trans people are under attack. They don't drive more young people to hate themselves or harm themselves. They don't cost people their lives. So we are humbled and we are hopeful for the future. We are hopeful that we may witness a real shift in the fight for justice. The moment the movement makes room for everyone. Everyone. Thank you.
Ooh. Oh. Oh, okay. That was a lot for me, guys. That was a lot. I know you probably can't see it, but I am crying under this mask because... Okay, woosah. Pull it together, girl. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm crying because okay. Everything that they said was 100% true. And it's sad that we live in a world where, for whatever reason, some people believe that this life or these lives are worth more than these lives. That these lives have more value than these lives. Just simply based on someone's gender identity that you don't agree with. And my whole thing is, I've never been one to want to force feed people into believing something that goes against their values, right? Like, I wholeheartedly believe if you don't believe in someone being trans and someone living in their truth, that you have a right to do that. But why don't those same people believe that just because you don't believe it doesn't mean that you have a right to infringe on someone else's journey or path? And it's crazy, you know, this is a side conversation. Let me just go off on a different tangent. I'm a news junkie. I am a documentary junkie. And I was watching a documentary just yesterday. It was a Vice documentary. And they were talking about a lot of Russians who are essentially fleeing Russia, male Russians in particular, who are fleeing Russia and heading to South America, trying to cross over into the U.S. border because they're afraid for their lives, and they don't want to be drafted into a war that they don't believe in. And this is going to be a very it's sad that I had this thought when I was watching it, but as a trans woman, when I was watching these people fleeing from war, trying to save their lives on this documentary, at the same time I'm watching them flee from war because they want to live, I'm saying to myself, I don't know if I want that person in the country. Because Russians are notoriously homophobic, transphobic, right? But it'll be a person who is literally fleeing from war, fighting for their life, because they're trying to escape a dictator that will come into a country and try to trounce on someone else's freedoms, right? They'll come in here and be just as bigoted and as homophobic as their hearts will allow them to be, and have no presence of mind to think to themselves, man, I remember when I was fleeing from that war. I remember when I wanted to be saved. I remember when, do you get what I'm saying? Like, they are completely devoid of empathy because everything is okay. At least I'm not gay and at least I'm not trans. If Putin was, drafting trans people into the war and having them go fight, people wouldn't have an issue with that. Excuse me. But it's just, like I said, I know I just went off on a completely different tangent, but it's sad because when I saw them cross over to the border because they successfully made it into America, I believe they were granted amnesty. I'm not sure exactly how they crossed the border, but they were given access. I'm thinking to myself, here comes two more bigots. It was a couple, a male and a woman. Here comes two more bigots onto American soil to trounce on the rights of LGBTQIAP plus people. Two more bigots. And I shouldn't have to feel that way. When I watch Gabrielle and Dwyane stand in front of the NAACP audience and talk about their trans daughter, there's this dichotomy of emotion that I feel, right? Because on one hand, it's sad to see two parents having to fight simply for their child to exist, right? And on the other hand, I'm proud because we wouldn't have seen this happen 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Trans people were not to be seen nor heard. And I think what makes people upset about trans people is because people feel like, listen, we gave you an inch, how dare you want a mile? We gave that to you. You didn't have a right to it. You weren't entitled to it as a human being like the rest of us are. You're a freak of nature. You're a pariah. You're a social outcast. How dare you feel entitled to live the lives that we all do? Listen, you're in public in some instances and not getting beat up. Why do you need to use the bathroom? That's just like, now you're pushing it. Now you're making me uncomfortable. Same things that would happen with Jim Crow. Slavery is over. What are you complaining about? So what? You have to use a black bathroom. Go use it. You're not a slave anymore. And I know a lot of people of color hate to draw those comparisons, but it's true. Just like I was saying about these Russian citizens who were fleeing Russia to avoid world war. People of color very often don't remember how we were treated as second-class citizens. And it's amazing to me that we're so disconnected to that we don't have the presence of mind or wherewithal to understand that we shouldn't do that to others. We shouldn't. Dwyane Wade and Gabrielle Union shouldn't have to get on a national platform and give a speech about acceptance and tolerance of people who are simply trying to live their lives. Trans people have become the new boogie women, boogie persons, whatever you want to call it, for a lot of people, because a lot of people who have these anti-trans beliefs have not even encountered a trans person. They don't know the difference between someone who's trans and someone who's a drag queen. But they hate simply for the sake of hating. I did not have any idea that speech was going to make me that emotional, man. It took me to a place because, I went through a lot in my own personal life, getting to the point where I'm fortified emotionally and impervious to outside opinions, impressions, what have you. As a trans person, you have to develop this, I don't give a damn disposition. I don't give a damn. I don't care. doesn't matter. And it's not that you want to go through life, with an air of indifference to other people, but you can't care about people who don't care about you. You can't. You can't. There are so many things that I don't think that people think about, that trans people go through, right? I am a trans woman, right? And I drive. And let's say, knock on wood, I'm driving and I get a flat or I run out of gas and I pull over and someone sees an attractive woman on the side of the road, not even asking for help. And he decides to pull over because, it's his opportunity to maybe, encounter a damsel in distress and turn it into a connection of some sort. And at some point he figures out, this is not quite what I was expecting it to be, right? And realizes that you're trans. And because he took the initiative to pull over and help you, he feels like he's been fooled or tricked. And so he wants to do bodily harm. As a trans woman, you have to think about stuff like that. There are so many times where guys will come up to me, try to grab my groceries, try to help me with stuff. I'm just like, no, I got it. I'm fine. No, I can do it. Now, sometimes I do take that help, but in many instances, I decline to help because I know that many of them are offering this help under the guise that I am a cisgendered woman. And not just simply based on the fact that I'm a woman of trans experience and that I'm a human being who is in a position where I need help, because believe it or not, just helping me as a trans woman is somehow emasculating them in this culture of toxic masculinity that we live in. And you have to think about everything you do as a trans woman, where you go, where you shop, what time you shop, who's in the store while you're shopping. You live in a perpetual state of hypervigilance as a trans woman, because letting your guard down could potentially be your undoing. And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. Shout out to Gabrielle Union and Dwyane Wade for setting an example to black parents. So many black parents who have LGBTQIAP plus identified children don't know what to do, because so many of them have been inundated with dogma that supersedes, in many instances, the love that they should have for their children. I know families where the family will completely disassociate themselves from their trans child, but they have Tyrone in jail for murder, and they go see him every week. It's crazy. This trans child didn't do anything. Tyrone was about that life. But there's a certain reverence, unfortunately, that we have for violence. Man, if I didn't love Gabrielle Union and Dwyane Wade before, which I did, that speech just took it to another level, because they spoke to who they needed to speak to, and that is black people. Black people got to understand that the LGBTQIAP plus is not your community, it's not your enemy. It's not us. We don't have the power to create legislation, right? And also, I want to say this to the LGBTQIAP plus community. In most instances, we as black LGBTQIAP plus people will come down on the black community about their bigotry and their hatred towards LGBTQIAP plus, but we don't do the same for the white community. And it's not black people who, they can leave some hateful comments, but typically, and this might make your blood pressure high, but listen, is your health not mine, your blood pressure not mine, if this makes you mad. But typically the people who are leaving ignorant comments aren't people who vote. I said it and I meant it. Typically, the people who are leaving these ignorant comments on social media have probably never voted in their lives, ever. And so we target all this anger and energy towards people who are leaving the comments when the real enemies are the people who are voting, who in many instances are not black. Black people are, 13% of the population here in the U.S.? I think that we're now third behind Hispanic people. Latinx. Are we still saying Latinx? I think I read somewhere recently that certain people didn't like that terminology. So, anyway, my point being that we have all this energy for the people in the comments, but the people in the comments, honestly, are really no threat. They're just ignorant. Like I said, they don't even vote. People who leave some of those comments probably didn't even graduate from high school. You know, they're I didn't even get my GED, angry at the world. And so I don't give my energy to that type of people, because the one thing I know, that happy people either leave happy comments or don't comment at all because they're too busy being happy. Miserable people leave comments about how fat someone is. You know, leave comments about how unattractive someone is. Leave comments about, you know, how broke someone is. Leave comments about how someone still looks like a man because they're trans. And, you know, that's a miserable energy. And I don't feed into that, right? My concern is the people who are registering to vote and who are actually pushing legislation that is trying to take away rights from trans people and also trying to erase the contributions of minority people, black people in particular, in this country. Those are the people that I'm concerned with. So don't waste your time with the comment creeps, because honestly, they have no power. You know, when you're that angry to leave a hateful, vitriolic comment, that tells me that you feel powerless, right? That tells me, because most of us know that a comment isn't innocuous. The comment only has power if you give it power, and that's why I don't listen to it. Let me tell you something. When people come on my comment, first of all comments on my channel must be approved. And as soon as I hear something that is hateful, I just delete it. I don't even read it all the way through. Delete, delete, delete. Now, if it's something that is contrary but still respectful, I approve it. Because, like I said earlier, I don't believe everyone has to believe what I believe. So feel free to believe what you want to believe. I'll approve that. But when you come over here with ignorant nonsense, I just delete it. And in real life, I have a delete button too. I have blinders on. I don't see you. I don't have to deal with you. So anyway, you guys, get focused on what's important. And what's important is being registered to vote, and also targeting your energy towards the people who are pushing the legislation that is trying to quell the voices of minorities. Women trying to suppress women's, or they've already taken away women's reproductive rights. One more thing I want to say before I quickly go. All of you people who buy into this notion that these legislators who are trying to stop kids from having books read to them by drag queens, who are trying to pass, don't say gay bills, and doing so under the guise that they are there to protect your children while doing absolutely nothing to stop mass shootings, you make that make sense for me. Make that make sense for me. Tell me how many children have perished as a result of mass drag queening. How many? How many drag queens have stormed a school and kids have not come out? Oh, kids have been unalived. How many? So when these legislators keep pushing this notion that your kids are in danger because of people simply being themselves, you people get mad. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm about to make my blood. You people get mad and upset about drag queens reading books in schools, but then send your kids to Cub Scouts. Catholic schools. Let them participate in athletic programs. And we know what some of these coaches, some of these priests, scout leaders have done to the children that they have, quote unquote, sworn to protect. It's not drag queens. See, the problem, I need to understand is it's not people that live authentically that you should fear. It's the people that live dishonestly and inauthentically. Those are the people you should be afraid of. When you see a person living out loud in their truth, that is not a person to fear. Because the creep is probably laying right next to you waiting for you to go to work so they can, yeah. The creep is probably who you drop your child off to at summer camp. The creep is probably reading Bible verses during Sunday school. The creep is probably teaching algebraic equations at high school. It's not the people. The creep is probably married. The creep probably has children. And y'all have to get to a point where you really understand that people living out loud are not who you should fear. It's dumb. People who are living out loud are too busy being great, being happy, and they're not out here trying to hurt you or your children. Let people be themselves. All right. Okay. Anyway, you guys, comment below. You know, I want to hear what you have to say about this whole Gabrielle Union Dwyane Wade NAACP speech. Shout out to Brittany Griner and her wife as well. Brittany was looking good up there, right? I was like, okay. The wife looked beautiful. I'm really happy to see them have a return. I was going to say return to normalcy, but their lives will never be normal again. They'll never be able to see the world through the lens they saw it through prior to Brittany being detained in Russia. But hopefully it'll be better than it was. So shout out to them. Shout out to the NAACP Awards. Shout out to black people who get it. Shout out to people who mind their own business. Right? Shout out to just good people. Shout out to people who don't understand it, but are sort of hands off. Listen, it's not my life, it's not my choices. If y'all could just adopt more of that, the world would be a much better place. Not my life, not my business. Care about the things that matter. Care about if a person has a place to stay. Care about if a person is eating, if they're nourished. Care about if a person is healthy. Care about the things that really matter. Why you care about how someone identifies, why you care about who someone sleeps with, why you care about what someone else choose to put on their body is beyond me. And especially in this day and age of BBL and body modifications, how dare you sit in judgment of trans people with all of these BBLs going on? You want to sit here and tell a trans person to be who God made them to be who God created them, but no one's telling these girls who are getting BBLs and breast lifts and rhinoplasties and, fillers injected left and right. No one's telling them, the devil is waiting on you, sis. No one's telling them to be who God made them to be. Everybody's lining up to get a BBL. So if changing who you are in the physical sense is a sin against God, God damn, there's going to be a lot of company. Do you hear me? It's going to be a lot of company down there. All right, so I'm out of here for real this time, you guys. Please do me a huge favor. Like, comment, subscribe, and share if you care. And as always, in closing, ask yourself this one poignant question. Why be bitter when we can be better? So let's be better together. I'm the Mass Trans, and I'll talk to you guys again in my next video. Bye-bye.